Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Hahakudash. Double honors and salutations to the elders, apostles, the elders, and bishops of the Great Millstone. Those who rule well, shalom unto you men, shalom to the 144,000, the governing body, pushing this truth throughout the four corners of the globe. I'm your brother Yazra from the GMS Dallas camp, coming back at you with the morning commute. Really quick, with the spirit, sitting here just meditating. Had a beautiful week. Should I say weekend with the body, with the brothers here in Dallas camp. It's always a beautiful thing to be around brothers, man, and fellowship and just, be our true selves, man. All right? Amongst family, real family in the spirit. Right? And so just, kind of hit me. The name of this lesson is to be on point. Be on point. Right? What I mean by that is always, examine yourself as much as you can. Right? Because this flesh is an MFer. Right? And it's too easy to get lackadaisical in this thing. Because the flesh wars against us constantly, and it's to keep us really off balance and out of tune in the spirit. All right, so always try and remember to, be on point the best of your ability, man. When dealing with brothers, we were at the Apostles' crib on Saturday. Brothers go over there, we had fellowship, ate, barbecue, we watched the fight. And, brothers went out afterwards, and, I noticed that the apostle was, I'd say he was upset, but he just, not going to get all into the situation because it wasn't anything that was huge, but it was just a reminder, ultimately, to be on point, man, when dealing with brothers and, brothers' homes and, particular situations. All right? And like I said, we're in this flesh, so you're going to slip up, right? You'll be in your validity, and sometimes it's easy to, just to kind of get beside yourself a little bit, you know what I mean? So we have to realize when we look at one another, and we're dealing with one another, we look at each other like we don't know who we are in the spirit. Okay, Scripture says we know in parts, we prophesy in part. We don't know who this brother is or that brother is. So we always treat each other with respect, as respected with Yahushua. And we treat each other like people treat Yahushua. And that's how you have to be mindful of this thing of ours. Giving each other the utmost respect, man, and reverence. Making sure you don't offend a brother, and just always being on point, man. And, that's what a wise man of understanding would do. Sirach 21:7 says, an eloquent man is known near and far, but a man of understanding knoweth when he slippeth. Right? A man of understanding knoweth when he slippeth, because you're going to slip up. But the thing and the key is to be mindful. Right? To be on point. Examine yourself constantly. In this thing of ours, you get to drinking and stuff, and you get real cool, you be in the cut cool and stuff, but you always want to keep it in the back of your mind to always be on point. Stay in fear. You don't want to offend a brother or anything like that. So we deal with each other differently how everyone else deals with each other out here in the world, man. All right, we are of another creed and a higher level than these people out here. We show each other respect and reverence always. We deal with each other differently. We don't deal with each other like how we deal in the world. Okay? That's something to always be mindful of. So, just through the spirit, hit me. Just always, be on point. If you slip, Scripture says a wise man falleth 7 times, but he gets back up. Right? So, you're going to have your moments, where you slip up, but just know when you do. Always examining yourself, especially around the body, because, we watch for each other's souls, man, and we depend on each other, you want harmony amongst brothers. Yahweh Shai was born. So, I didn't want to make this lesson too long and just, kind of ramble, but it was just on my spirit to, to let it be known to, always be on point with one another, man. Always be honest. It's the thing that brother Elder Yadaka said something really beautiful. Shalom, brother, if you happen to catch it. We were leaving the Apostles' crib. He was like, man, he's like, this thing of ours is so beautiful, brothers, because we, everybody getting ready to crash out. And the Lord's getting ready to be led. It's going to be known who's his chosen. It's going to be getting ready to know. It's getting ready to be known who he's really dealing with, because the way we deal with each other is not the way these other camps deal with each other, man. And the main reason being because they don't have that real trust and bond that we have, man. When shit hits the fan, man, there's nothing more precious than a man that you can trust, a man that you ain't got to bat an eye. See, we're gonna have that. We have that now, so it's gonna be increased in that day, man. And people look at all of these, people on social media with Red Pill and all these different cats and God Logic and all, and different camps. They seem to look, in unity, appearance-wise, but when the shit really hits the fan out here, man, they ain't got it. They're not gonna have it. So it's a beautiful thing that what we have is special. I mean, to really, truly, honestly, hands down, know that you can depend and trust on the brother to your right, man, is something you can't buy, man. You can't buy. All right. And all that starts really in how we treat one another. Through the spirit power, Yahweh Bashmi Hashah, how we treat one another, man. All right. So as I said, I don't want to make this too long. I just wanted to, jump in and just make a point, man. Be on point. Right? Remember, Sirach 21:7, right? An eloquent man is known near and far, but a man of understanding knoweth when he slippeth. All right? So just examine yourself constantly, man, and be on point. All right? So with that, I want to give all honors and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Bahakodash. Let's get double honors and salutations to the elders